Hello again and welcome to Ballin with Roy and Edwyn. I am Roy S. Johnson and this is my son Edwyn. We're once again coming together to talk to you about the latest news and trends and ideas and controversy in sports from a generational perspective. How you doing today, son?
I'm good, Daddy. How are you?
Good. A lot of great NBA playoffs so far, great NBA finals. We'll talk about that a little later. But I want to get started sort of paying homage to someone who certainly is one of the greatest athletes of both of our eras, and that's Serena Williams. It was announced this week that Serena was going to get a wild card entry into Wimbledon, which for somebody who was one of the greatest players of all time, is really a signal that she's at or near the end of her career. Obviously, we've known she and her sister since they were little girls, just coming out of Compton and starting to play tennis with those great smiles and hitting the balls. Everybody thought Venus was good, and she kept telling people, no, my little sister is even better. So she's won 23 Grand Slam singles titles, the most of any woman in the Open era. Margaret Court has won more, but she retired in the 70s. I never really saw Margaret Court play. So for me and the women I saw play, it's really hard to narrow it down. My top ones are Steffi Graf, and that's not in any order. Steffi Graf, Serena Williams, and Martina Navratilova. I know Chris Everett is right in there, but I put those three first and really put Chris right behind them. For 186 straight weeks at one point, she was number one in the world. And so we're clearly seeing the last days of Serena Williams. But no matter what happens at Wimbledon, whether she makes a tremendous run like a Jimmy Connors did back in the day, even though he was on his last legs, or she goes out in the first round, I think it's important for tennis fans to remember her greatness. And so for somebody like you, I mean, you've seen a lot of great players when they get towards the end of their careers. How difficult is it to watch them when you know that they're well past their prime?
It can be difficult for some more than others, but knowing the fact that everything in their career has been set already for all the accomplishments, because she has 7 single trophies at Wimbledon already. So it's already set in stone of her greatness as well as her sisters too. And I think one thing that you want to talk about too is her possibly being the first female athlete to become a billionaire, also with LeBron and Tiger also. That was one thing you didn't want to talk about too, which I see within the near future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know what the timeline is, but her legacy is just beginning to be written. Her tennis legacy is clear, one of the greatest of all time. But as you said, and we talked about, I think Serena Williams is going to be the first female former athlete, billionaire, sitting right alongside Tiger, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. And it may come sooner rather than later. She has already shown to be a savvy investor, and not just marketing products and getting endorsement deals, but she's invested in startups. She's started a fund. So I think we're going to see her as the first female athlete billionaire, really again setting the standard, being a great role model for young women, particularly young Black girls, but Black women, Black girls, or girls all over the spectrum. They used to be, I don't know if you're old enough to remember Be Like Mike, right?
Yeah,
Remember Be Like that? Pretty soon you're going to see some, I want to be like Serena, right? I'll give you male or female. I want to be like Serena. I want to be that strong, be that great, and be that savvy of an investor. So wishing her best of luck at Wimbledon. No matter how she does, her legacy is solid. So let's move on to the NFL. Someone put out an interesting graphic the other day looking at the second-year quarterbacks coming into this season. And I'd love to hear your take on this. They ranked the second-year quarterbacks. They put at the top Trevor Lawrence of Jacksonville, then Mac Jones of New England, Zach Wilson of the Jets, Justin Fields of the Bears, Trey Lance at San Francisco, and Davis Mills at Houston. I don't know about you, Evan, but I don't know how Trevor Lawrence is on the top of this list at all. I would definitely put Mac Jones at the top of the list. Yes. I know this is preseason and we really haven't seen anything from Trey Lance, but I can't wait till next year when we get to the third years. I think Trey Lance is going to be at or near the top of this list as well. So what did you think about this list, Evan?
I agree with you, and Trevor Lawrence definitely should be under Mac Jones. Mac Jones should be number one. Mac Jones was the best rookie quarterback last year, exceeding everybody's expectations. Nobody expected him to go 15 in the draft. Nobody expected him to start from day one. And I think even Belichick didn't expect that also. So he definitely should be number one at that list. Trevor Lawrence, 2 or 3. I would be okay with that. He struggled last year. Zach Wilson struggled last year too. I won't deny that the talent was still shown there despite struggles, because most rookie quarterbacks are going to struggle also. Daniel Jones had few of them, just less than they had, and had more success. But I would have had him 2. I would have had Zach Wilson 3. Trey Lance, the problem with him is he did not play a lot last year. He only played, I think, 2 or 3 games, really. So you haven't seen a lot. You still have to see how he gets into that offense whenever he does, because they still have Jimmy Garoppolo. But if they fully move on for him, how will he be as a thrower of the football? You can see the athleticism, but being a thrower, that's going to be the real thing, because that's key to winning football games as a quarterback eventually.
So what do you talk about Trey Lance and only played 2 or 3 games? I think he's going to be the starter at the beginning of the year. I know they're trying to figure out what to do with Jimmy Garoppolo, but why are they playing around? I mean, just go ahead. They're going to go open rookie camp. I think by the start of the season, Trey Lance will be the starting quarterback in San Francisco, and whether Jimmy's there or not, Trey Lance will be behind center. Davis Mills, you didn't mention him. I've got to give him at least a little bit of prop.
Yeah.
Cardinal, for a former Stanford player. I mean, he's one of those guys that may be in the league 10 years, just be serviceable. He's probably not going to be a great quarterback. He'll be a solid quarterback, a good kid, a smart kid. And until Houston, especially in transition now, Houston needs somebody just solid back there so they figure out what they want to do in the future. Justin Fields with Chicago, again, another player that is really in the next couple of years, we're going to have to see what kind of player he is. They clearly have bet on him. They have put him in the position. So now it's time for him to show what he can do. I mean, it's really a tough list. Probably only 2 or 3 of these guys have enough playing time to really assess it. But it's always interesting to talk about who's going to step into the spotlight now that they've had 1 year under their belt. All right, so now let's go on and talk about your favorite team, the Lakers. Something happened this week. It was an anniversary. Kobe and Shaq. Tell us about that.
No, 21 years ago today, Kobe and Shaq won the first championship in 2000. They beat the Indiana Pacers. They beat Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson. And they were the last team to three-peat. They are probably the most successful duo of all time, the best 1-2 punch of all time. We already know about the Diamond. Shaq won 3 of those MVPs in a row. And even when I remember a game that Shaq got fouled out, Kobe told him, "I got this." At 21 years old, he took over the game. They won. They had a three-peat. I think if they had stayed together longer, they definitely would have won more championships. They should have. But no, they're definitely, in my opinion, and many other people, the greatest 1-2 punch, greatest duo of all time.
Yeah, that's a great conversation for another day, because there's certainly some others I would put on that list. But for you and your generation, they're definitely going to be the greatest in your lifetime. I mean, you came a little bit, you got a little bit of the Lakers in there, you got a little bit of the Celtics, but really Kobe and Shaq for you are probably the greatest of all time. So we'll come back another week and we'll chop that up a little bit, and I'll throw out some others. We saw briefly Anthony Davis, again, a key to success of this team going into next season. I mean, here's a guy, who's like a ghost, right? We really haven't seen him play. And even he said he hadn't shot a basketball since like April 5th. I mean, really, dude? I mean, I don't know, can you shoot from a bench? Can you shoot from a chair? So, I mean, it's like, I don't know. That kind of scares me a little bit. I mean, I'm not a big Laker fan. I don't care for another. But for you, I mean, how does that make you feel when he says he hadn't even shot a basketball since April 5th?
Well, first of all, if I was a real true Laker fan, that would really bother me. I like LeBron, but in terms of them being successful, just him, that's not good. A lot of analysts said it's normal. Well, for somebody like him who has been unhealthy and hurt for the last 2 years, he can't just do what other players do. Where some players, JJ Redick talked about, he was off and on when it came to shooting. No, you're trying to get healthy again and to show first getting in shape and then prove that you can still play. You don't have the time. You should have been, because you didn't even make the playoffs. You should have been as soon as, honestly, look, even if it was a couple weeks, take a couple weeks off, which I think, me personally, after the season was over, which ended short at that, I would have been in the gym, and I would have still been in the gym. I probably would have been in the gym, if not 5 days a week, possibly 6 days a week, just lifting weights, exercising, agility, shooting, working on moves, etc., because you are trying to get back into shape. Because that's a big question for him is, what is he doing to keep himself conditioned? Because you keep getting hurt. You haven't been healthy since the bubble, where okay, you guys won the championship. Everybody's gonna say what they want to say for the years to come about. Okay, they won it in the bubble, but that's the last time you were healthy. It was 2 years ago.
I mean, nobody's asking them to run a marathon, right? You're not asking them to do 50 box jumps. You're just asking them to say, hey, go shoot a basketball. Go get your rhythm right. I mean, as you mentioned, taking 2 weeks off after a season, particularly if you played, but if you didn't play, even still, 2 weeks is fine. 2 months, it's been 2 months. Dude, shoot a basketball. All right. So that's the Lakers. We'll continue to talk about them. Let's go to the teams that are still playing. I mean, right now we're sitting here going into Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Golden State has taken control, took a 3-2 lead in Game 5. As you and I were texting during the game, I mean, certainly, this game, I mean, if Golden State really shapes up and goes ahead and takes this series, I mean, we're looking at one of the greatest franchises of all time. Between Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, 6 finals in the last 8 years. They're looking for their 4th. I mean, that franchise now has titles in 56, 75, 15, 17, and 21, looking for 22. They really have 8 because they go back to the Basketball Association of America. You're looking at this graphic here that shows that Steph Curry now has as many 30-point games in the NBA Finals as Kobe Bryant. Not quite as many as Shaq and LeBron and certainly Michael Jordan, but that's still a very small list of people, and I think he could probably get one more. I think once they get close, I think he's going to give us one more, so he's going to jump ahead of Kobe on that list. So, only the Celtics and the Lakers have more titles right now than Golden State. You don't often hear Golden State being talked about as one of the greatest franchises. They're certainly one of the most respected franchises in the NBA, but not one of the greatest franchises. But nobody's got more titles than them except the Celtics and the Lakers, and they're tied with the Bulls. If they win this one, they're going to move ahead of the Bulls. So we're not giving it to them right away because anything can happen. 2 more games. We don't want to anoint them with rings just yet. But let's talk about Game 5. Okay. What did you see coming out of that, and what are the prospects for the Celtics to come back in Game 6 on their home floor?
One thing you talked about was immaturity that was shown from Boston. They are a young team. They are an inexperienced team. I think the one thing I've gone by throughout the series is something that Mark Jackson said in Game 1 is that experience is overrated, and I did agree with that. Clearly, the experience has been shown from Golden State because Jason Tatum has had a bad game. Now, Draymond has had a bad game also, but I think one thing that people have to understand, Draymond has never been known as a scorer. Although he was a better scorer a couple years ago, he's always been known for defense, rebounding, and facilitating offensively. Jason Tatum is supposed to be your best player, him and Jaylen Brown. He's supposed to be the scorer, and he has not done that. Now, Jaylen Brown has had some good games, though, also I will say that. But I think that's the biggest point. When your best player is not showing up, is not playing the part, 99% of the time you are going to struggle and you're going to lose.
I mean, every team goes through streaks, but the Celtics seem to have these wild streaks, right? I mean, they started off the game, I think, Game 5, 0 for 12 from the 3-point line. They were down. They were lucky to be down by 12 at halftime. But then they come out in the third quarter. I think they hit 7 or 8 or 9 in a row, got themselves back into the game. And then all of a sudden, it was like they told somebody to warm up the bus, and they started getting on the bus. All of a sudden, they were distracted. All of a sudden, they were showing frustration. All of a sudden, they were going back to one-on-one instead of moving the ball and getting the open shot. I don't mind you taking the 3, but make sure it's an open 3. Move the ball around. You can move the ball around faster than the defense can adjust, but you got to move it. You can't just take it out there. And even, Jason Tatum was just taking shots over people. He was trying to dribble around people and get to the rim. That's not the game. And then, especially with all this pressure right now, they just weren't playing smart. All of a sudden, they allowed the refereeing to get to them. They allowed, of course, Draymond's going to be. If he sees
Draymond's going to be Draymond. Either way, he's going to bring
your
the intensity. He's definitely going to bring that intensity. And the one thing that was taken advantage, I think Steve Kerr took advantage of, is that small ball where Draymond was your big man. Kevon Looney was not in the starting lineup, and it really took advantage of the Celtics too. Now the Celtics, they have an athletic big man. They have size too, and that is the weakness usually for Golden State is height inside the paint. But that small ball was they were able to just take off, and now they were starting to get in rhythm of shooting. So that's what really tore them up on top of that. And they're supposed to be the better that both teams play very
both of these
defense. But Boston's number one in defense the entire year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people don't give Golden State credit. They forget that Golden State was one of the top teams as well defensively. You know, in this day and age, you have to be quick, you have to be long, and for the most part, even when Golden State is playing small ball, they can get beat down in the paint. But you know, playing a team like the Celtics, they're not really going to take advantage of that very much. I mean, you saw some streaks where you know the Celtics were getting offensive rebounds or getting defensive rebounds and getting it out and getting it down low to some of their big men and getting points, but then they go back to shooting 3-pointers. So I don't know if that's coaching or just experience or heart. You know, I
think it's experience. Mm-hmm. I truly believe you have a rookie coach. The way that he coaches, though, I feel it's definitely cannot be intensity. I just think it's the lack of experience, maybe coaching experience and experience from those players.
Mm-hmm. I do like, and I think both coaches do this, they tend to let the players play through their bad streaks. Now, certainly there are times when a gap gets to a certain point, or if you see some tendencies that you just want to correct. Even Steve Kerr was doing this, when the Warriors were ahead. There would be a couple of possessions when things didn't go well, and he's already paying homage to Steph. And certainly, to talk about a star and a coach alignment, it's almost like Pat Riley and marriage, just like and Magic, like Casey Jones and Larry Bird. I mean, some of these coaches get aligned with these superstars, and he's already given honor to Steph Curry and talking about what a privilege it is to coach him. But that's when you got a coach on the floor like that. Yeah. You don't have to call a timeout all the time. Boston doesn't quite have that yet. They don't have. I mean, Al Horford is their most experienced player, but he doesn't have the ball that much. He doesn't control the flow of play, and so because if you don't have that and you try to let them play through their mistakes, 50% of the time they may make more mistakes. And with the Celtics, it was actually in the fourth quarter. Once they allowed Golden State to get a little bit more confidence, and then the Celtics started pressing, it was over. You and I knew this was over. Probably 4 or 5 minutes left, unless something dramatic happened. In Game 6, the Celtics can't allow another 12 to 15 point deficit. They got to keep their crowd in the game, and they're gonna have to play the full game. They have to play smart. Yes, they're gonna have lapses. Golden State's gonna make some runs, and if Golden State gets ahead, even by 5 or 6 in the last 5 minutes, and start to smell a little bit of blood, this is over. So I predicted back at the beginning, Golden State in 7. You predicted Boston in 6. Obviously, yours
will come. I said Boston in 7.
7, okay. Boston in 7. So we're both still in it. But it'll be interesting to see if the Celtics can elevate their maturity. They got the game. We know they've got the game to win this series, but they're certainly going to have to elevate their maturity just to win at home, let alone win a Game 7 on the road. So basketball fans and others will be looking to see that. Now, before we go, I just want to pay tribute, and just my heart goes out to, I grew up as a baseball fan, and the St. Louis Cardinals were my favorite team. The St. Louis Cardinals were the major league team. Tulsa Oilers were the AAA farm team. So the Cardinals of that era, guys like Lou Brock, Kurt Flood, Bob Gibson, they would come to Tulsa and play at least 1 or 2 games a year, usually in the preseason. So I got to see those players. A lot of those players would come by my dad's store on Greenwood at Black Wall Street. So I got to meet a lot of them. I was just a little kid. I didn't appreciate them more for just being athletes. Like a little kid likes athletes. I didn't realize how great they were. But man, a lot of them didn't make the Hall of Fame, but were just good guys, good brothers who would come down and support my dad's store. So I've always been a Cardinals fan. There's a pitcher named Miles Mikolas this week who came within 1 strike of a no-hitter. I mean, 2 outs in the ninth, 2 strikes on the hitter. Batter hits the ball to deep center field, and it just gets over the center fielder's glove. This is a picture of him watching that ball. You got to feel bad for somebody like that to get that close. A lot of no-hitters have been lost in the 9th inning, but 2 outs, 2 strikes, that's got to break your heart for somebody who's never thrown a no-hitter. So my heart goes out to him. And it reminded me of July 4th, 1983, when I was in Yankee Stadium that day, just as a fan, and watched Dave Righetti of the Yankees pitch a no-hitter. Still one of the greatest days in Yankee history. Rigetti that following year went on to become the closer for the Yankees and became one of the best closers in franchise history. But this was his day as a starter to really shine. And I was there at Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium has been torn down. But there at Yankee Stadium, July 4th, 1983, when Dave Rigetti pitched that no-hitter. So, Edwin, thank you again. It's always fun. We got some things to watch going into next week. We're going to watch certainly the NBA Finals, the NFL, and there's always something that's going to pop up. So until next time, folks, we thank you. And what do we tell folks to do, Edwin?
Keep balling.
All right. See you next time.